Hi, my name's John Komechik. I'm here to discuss Menards yard service, their outside pickup and delivery or outside pickup service at in Menards outside area. I was very displeased with their service, and I think things could be better there. The whole reason I sent the complaint out was that I ordered at 6 o'clock in the morning, about 10 to 6. They open at 6. At 10 to 6, I ordered 15 bags of mulch and 6 bags of sand. And they said that they would have to get it ready and call me back. Um, by at noon, 6 hours later, it was ready. They texted me and gave me the phone SKU on my phone that would open their gate and everything. So I went to Menards, and the first part was I held my phone up to held the SKU up to the thing to get into the yard, which worked just fine. That was no problem. But there was no one there to greet you or anything, which was okay. I mean, you could figure out that you had to hold your phone up there. But then I pulled in and I'm waiting and I'm looking for signs, and there were no signs that I could see. And then I noticed a sign further, all the way at the end of the row, which was, I don't know, a football field long at least. I drove down to the end, and then I saw a big sign that said service department. So that was really no big deal. So I turned, it had an arrow pointing to where the service. When I went over there, the service department was well um, marked on the wall. You couldn't miss it. And there was a bunch of trucks in front and cones around and everything. So you were able to know exactly where to go. So I pulled around to there. But then I got out and I walked into the service department, and there were, I say, 8 people running around that worked for Menards, because during the time I stood there waiting for someone to acknowledge my presence, which was probably about 10 minutes, there was a person at the desk, which I walked up to the desk and stood, 6 feet away from it, as you should now. So I walked into the service department. I went up to the desk. I waited. No one looked up at me. No one greeted me. No one said, "Hey, I'll be with you in a minute. Are you here to pick up an order?" or nothing. I stood there, and a person came in about 5 minutes later. A person came in behind me, another customer holding his phone, looking at his order, came behind me, stood there. We both stood there for about another 10 minutes before, while these 8 people were running around. And I say 8 people because on the wall they show the people that they have working at that time and what they're supposed to be doing and everything else. And there was 8 people on that board, 2 in each depart or spot, whatever they were supposed to be doing, monitoring a desk or running orders or whatever. So finally, the guy at the front at the desk looked up and said, "Hey, can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up this order." He says, "Oh, that's a self load. You got to go around." And then he said, "Well, you got to go over here and go around the wall and go down here, and your bags are over here, and then your mulch is further down at the end." And I'm thinking, okay, you had me wait for 6 hours to get this order, and now you're telling me it's a self load. So, okay, fine. So I go around the corner, move my truck, everything else, walking around. At that time, I wasn't too happy because it was 30 degrees outside. It wasn't the warmest day. I'm walking all around looking. I finally found the sand, and luckily the sand was in a place where I could back my truck up to and get to it. So I got to the sand, threw bags of sand in. Then I'm looking for the mulch, and there's this whole row of mulch, and I couldn't find the one I needed. There was as I was there was numerous numbers of forklifts, probably 4 forklifts I've seen at the time, zipping back and forth all around the yard. So I stopped one of the forklift drivers. I said, "Hey, where's this mulch?" I showed him the number, and then he said, "Oh, I just put that pallet over there, further down. Go get it there." Okay. So I looked and I counted the rows it was away. I pulled my truck out, backed it into that row, and they have pylons up keeping the consumers that walk out there from going into the yard where I guess they could get hit or something. I don't know, because the whole yard's open. But I could only get my truck within like 25 feet of the mulch. So proceedingly, I had to carry 15 bags of mulch 25 feet to my truck and then put them into my truck. With that, at that end, then I loaded up, I pulled out, and so I proceeded to pull out, and then I went in there, and no one was there, and I stopped at the gate, and the woman, a girl, came out and counted the load supposedly, which, they couldn't count it. I mean, there's no way. I had, what, 15 and 6. I had 21 bags of stuff in the back of a truck. They couldn't count what she said. Oh, okay, whatever. So I left. And my thought during this whole time was, you had 6 hours. You could have had a guy go out, load this on a pallet, have it sitting here waiting for me. When I pull up, you bring a forklift, pick the pallet up, take it to my truck. Me and the person assigned to me, the forklift driver or whoever, loads it into the truck, and we're done. That easily. The 6 hours, I don't understand if that was just their paperwork that they had to do or what, but I could have walked in the store and got it just as quick as ordering it online. Probably the frustration. I wanted to keep other people from experiencing that same frustration that I had. It would have taken very little, or just to change the policy there, to get it out. I wanted to contact Menards, and I didn't know how to do it. I put in their Menards complaint as a search, and this consumer came up. So that's how I went about it. But that was why I did it, was to contact them and tell them, I mean, I don't not like the store, and their prices are reasonable. It's just the service. Let's increase the service, get the service better. It would have taken very little for them to look up and acknowledge me, and then to be able to. Now the loading, I didn't like that at all, and that I feel, as many people as they had there, I felt that, which I even put in my letter. If I was running that department, how easily it would have been changed for me to change it and say, look, when a consumer comes in here, the person at the desk, you acknowledge him. You acknowledge that person as soon as they walk in the door. You acknowledge that that person came into your surroundings. And even if you have to tell them to wait a minute or whatever, you acknowledge his presence. Then after, when we go to work with him or to load his order, assign a person to him. If you have 8 people working in this floor on this department, you can assign a person. Even if you have 4 people that you assign to customers, you're treating 4 customers. And then when he gets done with that customer, he comes back and gets another customer and gets assigned another customer, so that he's working with that customer throughout their stay in the yard. For one thing, the customer has someone with him helping him the whole time. The count is going to be right. I could have taken 20 bags of mulch if I would have wanted to. I took my 15, but I could have taken 20. They wouldn't have known. That woman that counted it could no way have counted them in the back of my truck. She wouldn't have known the difference between 15 or 20. Now, how do they know that they're not losing product with doing it this way? This way, you're serving the customer, plus you're also um, uh, making sure that they don't take any more than they purchased from you. So it's a win-win situation. That's what kind of frustrated me. No, just changing their practices. I mean, when I go back there, or to tell me that it would be looked at and it would be changed. Their practices would be changed to where they have someone greeting you when you walked in, or at least acknowledging they changed, just changing the procedures that they work with, that they work in, and giving someone in the yard, helping people, helping their consumers in the yard. They had no one, they had people, I didn't see one consumer when I was there. I didn't see one consumer being helped by anybody loading or unloading the vehicle. There was people before me that was getting mulch. They were doing it themselves. All the people were doing were were driving tow motors and moving pallets and maybe unloading trucks and stocking their store, their yard, while their customers waiting. And there was no one working with the customers on loading or getting them loaded or anything else. So I didn't see any customer help, consumer help with the people there.